So today, for security reasons, we promised our manager that he wouldn't be on camera today. Oh, did we just lose the blur? I'm sorry. Sorry about that, Pete.
Oh, great. Hope nobody I know is watching.
Thank you for joining us. We know that your time is valuable and we appreciate you spending it with us.
This show is talking about beyond the blueprint and what happens kind of behind the scenes of the construction world, and also what happens in our lives from a family business and ranching and all the things that keep us building and moving forward.
And if there's something that you heard that resonates with you, whether it was a joke, an idea, please like this, share it with someone you know, and feel free to leave comments. We look forward to seeing what you have to say.
Let's dig in. Welcome back to Two Bees in a Pod with Brad and Brian Jans. Today, we're inside one of the coolest shops in Sioux Falls, the Urban Woodshop.
This place is all about craftsmanship and creativity, from cabinets and countertops to custom furniture, windows, doors, millwork. And we're going to introduce Pete, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his team.
And we get to find out what all this sawdust is about.
The smell of money.
The Urban Woodshop actually started out as a different cabinet shop when Jans Corporation was struggling with some of the products they were receiving from local subcontractors. They just decided it was important to maybe take that under their own guise and bring it in-house. And so we actually purchased a small little cabinet shop out of Harrisburg, moved it to Sioux Falls, and just started growing from there. And at one point, we had a couple of general contractors say, hey, we really like the work you guys could create. Could you bring it onto some of our job sites? Could we work with you? However, we don't want to see the Jans Corporation name show up on our job sites. And so that's when the conversation first started. Maybe we could make this truly a separate entity, call it the Urban Woodshop, and have them service other general contractors in the area as well. And that's what they are today, truly a separate shop that runs with their own team, their own people, and they provide work for a lot of different customers throughout the Sioux Falls area and beyond.
So, Pete, let's start by telling me what's something that you love about what you do, the work that you do.
Wow. Funny thing is, I've said over the years that I'm one of few people that truly gets to say I love what I do. I like my job. I love what I do. It started out as a passion 30-some years ago, 33 years ago maybe. I was working in an assembly plant for Ford Motor Company and just realized that I had a liking for this kind of thing. And I just told myself there's more to life than building pickup trucks, and took in some training and branched out. And my passion is handmade furniture, but of course you can't live on that alone. So I ventured off into the cabinetry business, got in with at that time I was in the cities. It was a locally owned, family-run custom shop, and ventured off into this direction and been moving this way, trucking along ever since.
So how long have you been at the Urban Woodshop?
Well, I was invited by you, Brian, shortly after the inception of the Urban Woodshop itself. I joined the team that summer, which was 7 years ago, and moving strong, keeping on moving forward.
So what all do we do here at Urban Woodshop, with cabinetry, casework, countertops, CNC milling, all that? We do so much. What's one thing that you remember that you've done that's really exciting, and what other things can you provide that people might not know about?
Well, our mainstay is commercial cabinetry, which is pretty constant, pretty consistent, but there's always a variation that comes along that you say, yeah, we'll do that. We'll make that happen. We do a lot of millwork. We do different kinds of milling. We can make moldings. We can do a lot of just general milling on lumber itself. We have ventured off into some furniture pieces, which is my passion. So we're always looking for one of those projects to come along or show itself. We've had some pretty cool projects outside of, the norm, and I'd be happy to share those with you.
Yeah, I wanted to get in a little too. Some of the equipment that you have here is pretty impressive, from CNC machines, your saws and sanders. I know on a architectural plan set, a lot of times the cabinetry is considered casework. Is there a variety that you guys can get into in that regard?
Well, we stick with what is typically the AWI standard via the architects, which is referred to as the European design, European frameless doweled casework. But there's many ways to adapt that casework. The box itself goes together the same way every time. However, versus if you're doing a school or a hospital, you're using a hard plastic laminate casing, but you can get into some custom variations where you use wood veneers, and rather than putting on a laminate slab door and drawer, you can buy custom or make custom doors and drawer fronts out of solid wood and give it an entirely different look.
So you mentioned, commercial cabinetry is kind of the mainstay. That's kind of the main focus. And so, a lot of general contractors and people in the construction world know what that is and know that they could solicit a bid from you. But you also mentioned you have a passion for furniture, and you mentioned the word millwork and milling. Maybe the typical homeowner or user doesn't know what that means. Could you maybe simplify it? One, what is that really mean? What all are you really providing, like in a house or in a business? And then how does that process work for somebody to get a hold of you?
So, yeah, millwork can mean a lot of different things, or milling. We have a unique relationship with another business here that we basically purchase from each other. They are a supplier to cabinet shops around the area. So when they bring in their lumber from a mill, they send it over to us, and based on their direction, their instruction, we mill that lumber down. We give it a straight edge and surface it to specific thickness, whatever they're requiring. Send it back over to them, and now you have furniture grade lumber that they can sell to their customer. On the flip side of that coin, I utilize them, and I purchase my materials from them, my sheet goods, laminates, any product needed in the process.
So it's a good partnership.
An excellent partnership.
Let's talk a little bit about your CNC machine. Why was that such a game changer for the Urban Woodshop?
Well, when I started out, cabinet parts were cut one at a time on a table saw. And you could create a pattern or a method and get through it, but it's very labor intensive, very slow going. Where the introduction of the CNC router in the woodworking industry is you can make your drawings via a design software, which there's many to choose from. But you make your drawings on a computer, and that software then has the ability to create what we refer to as G code, which the router reads and follows. So it will take that G code and take an entire sheet of material, which is held down, sucked down, and will cut whatever parts are required out of that material, anywhere from a couple of pieces to 100 pieces. But the time saving, the labor saving, and the accuracy is just miles ahead of what it was, 30 years ago.
One of the coolest words that I learned during the CNC integration process was nesting.
Yes.
Can you talk about what nesting is and why that's important with waste?
So nesting is how the software, in that process of creating your G code, the software will take all of the parts from the job. You can either dictate, I want this room done, I want these 2 rooms done, or I want all of the rooms done. It will take all of the parts, because you've created a library. Every cabinet is made up of these individual parts. So it knows how many of these parts that it needs, and it will literally take and optimize how they're set in that panel, how they're cut out of that panel, and it will tell you how many panels you need, of what material you need. So it's very accurately laid out. I can't fathom a human being sitting down and piecing that all together and mapping that out. You'd be forever.
But it really reduces your waste then.
Incredible. What do I want to say? The waste factor is probably 5%, versus sometimes, I know the old way we did it, you could have 50% waste.
All right. So not only is that good for the environment, saves on material waste, but it's also good for the end user because you're not having to charge for material that ends up in the dumpster.
Correct.
Cool.
So cabinetry and millwork, it's really all about details. What would you say is a detail that most end users don't really appreciate or realize until they have it?
Boy, I don't know. That's hard. The typical person can't envision something, and you can talk about it, you can sketch it on paper, you can draw it, but most people need to touch it, feel it, see it to really grasp the concept or what's coming, what they're asking for, or what they're going to get. Boy, I don't know. There's just so much of it that you have to kind of make something up or have something available to show them and say, this is what you're going to get. This is what we're going to do and why we're going to do it.
I know one thing I always kind of considered with that specific materials, your doors, your trim work, it's kind of like your permanent furniture in your home or your business. And it's a detail that, having spent time in the millwork industry myself, I know when I go into a building now, be it someone's home or a bank or a church, it's one of the first things I notice, the woodwork inside.
Sure. And, what I would refer to as modern architecture, modern homes in the last 30 to 50 years, the millwork or all the moldings in the homes tend to be fairly simple, fairly straightforward. Contractors will set up, they'll have several plans that they like to build, and they'll offer their customer, you can have this one, or this one, and the moldings are pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and I think that, for them, it's a cost feature. They can make something look nice, but not, spend a ton. Where you think back to the old, anything, I'm going to say pre-1950s, where people, you think about the old Victorian homes with the wraparound porches, and you walk into those places, and the elaborateness of the moldings and the framing around the windows and the doors and the floors, and it was an era where just you went all out, and you couldn't wait to show off the inside of your house.
So that brings me to a great question. So say somebody buys an older house and they're looking to do some renovation work, or maybe it's an old church and they've got some of that ornate woodwork. Do you have the capability to match whatever they have, even if it's not available anymore?
We do in a couple of different directions. So since we've had our molder kind of an extended period of time, over time you collect the knives for making those kinds of things. So obviously step one is we take the pattern, and if I recognize it, we've got a catalog or binder full of different patterns that we can use. So first thing you do is try to look, do I have this set of knives? If you do, great, we're good to go, and let's get this figured out, how much you need, and get it made. I have a source that I can take advantage of. We just did a project recently, which I'm going to say was probably one of my favorite projects since being here with Urban Woodshop. But I have a guy that I can take, if I have a piece of the original, I can cut a piece and get it to him. I can measure it, get him pictures of it, and he will make a set of knives for it to be an exact match. And I guess without getting too far ahead of myself, we did a church here locally in the last year that I had several pieces like that, because the whole objective was to restore the church to its original, and match all the existing original molding and millwork in there. And we did every single piece that we needed by this method, by getting a sample to him and having the knife made, and we were able to set up our molder and run every piece that we needed. So that was a very fun project. That one of those that made my blood boil, got me going.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that. Obviously, let's talk some of your past projects. You've done everything from the medical side of things, of clinics, dental, hygienist type stuff. You've done things with schools, classrooms that are kind of wash, rinse, repeat. It's kind of the same room over and over again. You've done conference tables. You've done some unique pieces for furniture, like you mentioned. What are some of the one or two or three favorite projects that stand out? What were they, and why were they your favorite?
Well, like the one I was just talking about was First United Methodist Church, which is a very old church, very ornate. Because of the challenge and me having had that kind of experience, I was able to teach my team how to handle it, what to do, and what to expect. And the deeper we got into the project, the more fun they had, more enjoyable it was. Yes, we've done gamut around hospitals, medical clinics, dental clinics, churches, schools. Pick a category, and we've probably built something that I've done. And through this shop, even though we are a commercial shop, I have done a couple of residential projects, and made the customer very happy. One of the other churches in particular, is over on the east side. Harvest Church was pretty sizable place, and I think what made it unique was that there were a lot of colors involved. Every room had different color scheme, so that made it challenging but fun. But probably the thing that stood out the most with that project was in their front entryway, their front foyer, was a welcome center, which is not uncommon. What made this one uncommon was it was octagon shaped, and it was made out of solid surface material. And not only was the furniture, the piece was octagon, but every facet of the octagon was angled back to the floor, which made it an enormous challenge. If you can think about building anything just square and plumb, but you start introducing compound angles, it took quite a bit, but when we were done, it was something to be pretty proud of.
Well, that was one thing that just got my mind thinking. What was one project, and maybe it was that, where you felt in the beginning this is going to be impossible, but it turned out amazing?
Probably that. Yeah. I don't get overwhelmed too often, but that one made me think pretty hard.
So, obviously we talked about the diversity that your team can complete and the different types of works. What does that say about the skill level of the people involved here and just the process? How do you tackle such different projects but still follow the same quality and theme throughout of how you get projects completed?
It comes down to, because I have guys that have walked in the door and about the most they could do was hold a pencil and read a tape measure. And then I've got a couple of guys that had several years background, that, could help across the board. But it boils down to having a team of guys that really want to be here, really care. The quality, the finished product is key to them. They are very dialed into, it's not going out the door until it's right, kind of thing. And you have to establish processes. You have to stick to the process. I don't care if it's a plastic laminate cabinet or the most ornate piece of black walnut furniture you've ever worked on. every one of those things has a process to follow, and they have to stick to it.
Sure. So being a sister company to Jan's Corporation, how has that affected the work that you do?
It kind of goes a couple of different ways. Some people are a little afraid being affiliated with Jan's, and if it's another medium to large contractor, they might shy away a little bit. But some of those guys we've managed to get in and say, "Give me a small project. Let me do something for you. Let me show you how we can do it." And we step up. We get the job done. We get it done on time. They like the quality. Okay, now we get a follow-up phone call. We get another chance. We've had some other contractors out there, kind of along that way, where we did a bid. We got the project. It happened to be down at USD. And the guys that I worked with from that construction company left that company to start one up here. And before I knew it, my phone rang and they said, "Hey, can you take a look at this?" And it's kind of one of those like, will you look at it? Can you do it? When can you do it? And how much is this going to cost? And so we've developed a couple of contractors like that. That's really who I like doing work with, because they obviously are satisfied with our work, with our performance, with us showing up on time, and we both make some money at it.
So obviously doing the work that you guys do, your team requires a high level of craftsmanship and detail and quality. And the Jantz family has a track record of legacy. That's what we're trying to build and create. How do those two things align with you and what you're trying to accomplish inside the Urban Woodshop?
Why it's I would say aligned perfectly with that is like I said, I have a group of guys that really care. My objective here is that when I leave, even before that, is that Urban Woodshop is known as a go-to place, a place that customers can count on, whether they're a contractor or otherwise, that they're going to get what they want, they're going to get what they pay for, they're going to be treated well, treated right, fair. And when the day comes and I'm not here, that legacy carries on, that it's the go-to shop. It's a place people can call and count on.
So between the traditional old school hand tools, the new shiny CNC, what would you say is your favorite tool in the shop?
I realize I came out of old school. I have a bench and box full of those old hand tools at home. I still like to make things by hand. I like to make the moldings. I like to use a table saw and different measuring tools, the squares.
Quick, you still have all your fingers?
33 years and I still got all 10.
That's impressive.
I know a lot of guys that can't say that.
Right. Especially in this industry.
Right.
For sure.
Right. It takes a moment to...
I think we have a full digit count here in the whole shop.
We do.
Yeah,
we do.
Absolutely. Safety is important. That's something that
very
we
critical.
take very seriously.
We have a very robust safety program within our companies, and everybody buys into it. We promote it. We really promote it. And having a couple special tools, we have a particular table saw that has a brake on it. It is activated by anything that's conductive. So you, as a person, are conductive. So the moment that blade touches your skin, there's a brake that engages and retracts the blade and pulls it out of the way. And you're out maybe a Band-Aid versus a work comp injury.
Has that gone off here?
A couple times.
So to save
not cheap.
Some fingers or some cuts.
Yeah. I'd rather pay for the new blade and brake than having some guy's fingers or hands sewed back on.
All right. So here's a real tough question. This is going to be judged by a lot of people, but if you had a wood-scented candle in your house, what species of wood are you going with? What's your favorite wood smell?
Oh, It'd either be cherry or walnut. I love working with both. They're just beautiful, and the aroma.
I'm a big cedar fan myself. I think cedar really stands out, especially when you go out to the Black Hills and you get out of your truck. That one's tough to beat.
Yeah, I was going to say pine.
Pine is that's very
What's your
descriptive
road
as well.
ball?
Douglas fir.
Okay.
So can you share, can you share perhaps a funny shop fail, something that didn't quite go right, worked out in the end, but if anything else, it was a learning lesson?
I really hate letting those skeletons out of the closet. Oh, you got me on that one. Okay. This one's going to be near and dear to Brian's heart. We did, as Jan's was finishing out their building, and way up on the third floor, the mezzanine, is a lounge area. And we had a guy here that had some experience with epoxy. And so we went up to the mezzanine, we're digging around, and we found this slice of, what would have been the base or stump of a tree, the base of the beam. It was about 3 inches thick. It was cut fairly flat enough that we could work with it. And and it was split almost down the middle. So we took that thing, cleaned it up, did an epoxy pour, and I'd found a couple of old-fashioned nails, the flat nail with the T-head, flat T-head, and I don't know, 2, 3, 4 of them. So we decided to introduce them into the epoxy river.
You asked me about it. You said, hey,
sure,
put these in.
Sure. What do you think of that? So we finished up the pour. We built a pedestal for it, got it all ready to go. And the guy doing the work thought it was going to be funny, and he threw a couple of pennies in there. And his theory was he just wanted to add his 2 cents. And it's kind of like, yeah, no, that was not cool, not a good idea. But yet it resides up in the mezzanine, and it's a conversation piece to be had.
That table has been shown on our podcast. That's usually where we're sitting at.
Oh,
and those 2 pennies have created quite a conversational piece. Like, certainly get to bring that story up a lot.
Ironic.
And I think that has been our motto going forward: is people don't add things unless the client has approved it and said, that is what I want.
Yes. Yes. Precisely.
All right. So here's one last big question for you. If a client calls and they said, this is what I want, budget doesn't matter, scope doesn't matter, what's your ultimate build? What do you want to build?
I just had that, and I'm not sure that I want to repeat that. I won't use any names, but yeah. That's a
We'll have
tough
to blur
call.
them out like we've tried to blur you out.
That's a close call, because I've done that exactly, is give them exactly what they've asked for. This is going to cost you this. Okay, I'll give it to you. You obviously, I'm not going to talk you out of it. You can't guarantee how it's going to turn out. It did. But, that's case in point of giving them exactly what they asked for. But 9 times out of 10, they're not going to like what you give them. And sometimes you have to learn how to say no. Or just say, I wouldn't do it that way. Would you consider something else?
So let me phrase that question again. What if you had unlimited materials, no budget, and we just said, hey, Pete, run wild in the shop, build yourself something. What would you build for yourself?
For me personally, or for the shop?
For you personally.
Oh, boy. That's hard, because my house is full of furniture that I've built for myself over the years. I'm coming at a point where I don't know what I'd add to my house. I'd probably go after a really cool conference table. Like I said, I really, my two favorite species to work with are walnut and cherry. Find some combination. I love furniture, and if you can do something like that is a centerpiece or showpiece, that's where gratification and satisfaction comes from.
I know that you've got a couple of those around town. The one in our main conference room is certainly a talking point that everybody asks about it when they come in and see it. We know you've done the one for Rise Incorporated, Rise Structural. The Sioux Falls Area Community Foundation, we built that one. So truly some great pieces. In fact, one of the best projects that you guys have done for me was my wife and I's bed in our bedroom. When we were doing a little bit of remodel work, we wanted a new bed, and we wanted a specific style. We wanted to have built-in storage for, let's not kid, I'm not a reader, but she is, so she wants some book storage. We wanted lights built in so we could read while not affecting the other person. Wanted built-in grommets for charging. Obviously, everything today, I think I have like 4 things I have to plug in to charge. And so all of that was integrated, built in, exactly, kind of just an idea on a piece of paper that turned into where I spend 5 to 6 hours of my night every night getting good, relaxing sleep.
Sure. Now that you mentioned that, I've actually, I've been threatening the same thing, is to build a bedroom set for my wife and I, a bed and dressers. And I have the lumber. I've had it for a long time, and I know it's time to stop talking and start doing. So that actually, honestly, will be my next project, and it'll be out of black walnut, because I own the lumber. I've got it. So
you can smell it while you sleep.
Right? You can smell it sitting here. It's right here.
Well, Pete, thank you for showing us the heart of the Urban Woodshop.
Absolutely. I'm very happy and proud to show off what we've got and what we're doing around here.
So if you want to see more, check out the gallery on our website, check out the projects online, or better yet, just stop by and say hi to Pete. He'd be happy to show you around and show you what all we're doing here. And we'll link everything below, so just keep looking down for that.
All right, guys, thanks for having me here, and thanks for coming in to visit and talk about the shop. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, great to have you on.
Oh,
well, see, there you have it.
Get back to it.
All right,
That's
here.
Going. Thanks, Pete.
We appreciate you listening. Everything we do is a collaboration, and we appreciate you being here to share this with us.
Yeah, our goal is always the same: to build relationships, to build structures, and to tell the stories that we've experienced along the way.
Feel free to drop us a comment, share it with a friend, and like this podcast.
Or call me if you just want to talk about cows.
So until next time,
keep building. No, get out of here.